If you've been working out, eating clean, and still haven't seen the results you're looking for, chances are you are making one of these mistakes that I'm about to share with you in this video. And trust me, I made all of them too, even as an Olympian. Today, we are going to be discussing mistakes that could be hindering you from making the progress that you want to see. Let's fix that. Hi guys, my name is Cindy Sember. I am a 3-time Olympian and now coach helping other women build strength physically and spiritually. It's crucial to know that there are things that can be hindering us because we could be doing all the right things and still not see progress, and I know how frustrating that is. So today we're going to be discussing a little bit of that. If you guys want, you can go back and watch my previous video because I share the structures and plans that you can start doing to help you lose fat and build muscle. Today is going to be a little continuation on that, discussing some of the mistakes that you could be making. So the first thing you could be doing that could be hindering your success is you're doing too much too soon. I see this very often. You have this goal. You're like, I want to lose weight. I want to build muscle. I want to have abs. I'm going to start training 6 times a week. But in reality, you haven't really been training at all. So now you've increased this load times 100 and you're going all out, but then you don't end up wanting to stay consistent because you didn't give yourself a gradual process. And although this can work in the short term, this is not a good long-term approach. If you're somebody who has not been working out or who hasn't been consistent with working out, then you don't want to put a whole bunch of workouts on your plate right away because this leads to burnout, this leads to inconsistency, this leads to discouragement. It can lead to a lot of different things. It can also lead to injury, okay? So I want you to be really careful as you start to do these things. Start implementing it small. If you are somebody who has been doing this for a while and you have been consistent, that's perfectly fine. But I want you to remember that it's okay to rest. If you're doing too much, sometimes our body holds on to that as stress, and that's not helpful, okay? If you're pushing your body to the limit every day and not giving it rest, it can't generate the strength, it can't generate the muscle, and it can't actually recover properly. So I want you to be careful with what you're doing and how much you're doing. I think it's really important to create systems, as I shared in my first video, and have structure, but it's also important to be realistic with where you're at, okay? So for instance, if you're somebody who has been working out, maybe 5 times a week, and then sometimes you work out 2 times a week, and then other days you work out 7 times a week, then let's just keep it to a schedule that you know you can always show up on, because consistency will beat intensity any day, okay? You can be intense for 3 months and then fall off for the other 9 months of the year. You won't achieve your goals because you didn't continue that whole process. If you really want to see fat loss this year, I want you to create something that is very sustainable, so that this is something you can do for 4 months down the line, for a year down the line. But I want something that feels good to you. And as soon as you become super consistent with doing this, you can increase it gradually and you can increase how much load you're putting on, but don't do too much too soon. As a Christian, I believe that it's important to incorporate God into your fitness, and even God rested on the 7th day. So make sure you're incorporating that rest so that your body can repair itself. Strength is truly built on the rest days. Our bodies build a lot of muscle through rest. Create a plan that is actually something you can stick to, and also give yourself that rest. Rest is good. You will be so much stronger with it. When I started to really take this seriously and not overdo it on the days that, I thought I can continue to push and actually rest, were the times that I started seeing more progress in my body. The next mistake you might be making is you're eating like you're on a diet and not fueling like an athlete. Now, if the goal is weight loss, just general weight loss, then dieting is not necessarily a bad thing. But if your goal is to build strength and to actually see, toned muscles, a sculpted look, actually have definition in your abs, then you're going to want to fuel like an athlete. So what does that mean? Fueling like an athlete means you're fueling to perform. You're fueling so that when you go and work out, you have energy. You're fueling so that you feel good after your workouts and your body can generate muscle through what you're eating. You're not just dieting, you're not taking things out, you're not restricting, you're not, just making yourself feel miserable just by not eating what you like. You're still being disciplined, but you're eating strategically. So what you can start doing is you can start fueling yourself properly before your workouts so that you have energy. If you have more energy going into your workouts, I promise you, you will start to see more gains and more success in your body, your abs, your fat loss, because you'll have enough energy to push more. About 5 years ago, I did a gluten-free diet, which worked for me. I did gluten-free, dairy-free, took a lot of things out. And although that wasn't a bad thing, I think it was good. I wasn't necessarily always focused on fueling properly. I was just restricting. And so restricting is not always bad, but just restricting can make you not have enough energy and it can really set you back. So I want you to think about the foods that give you energy. Think about what makes you feel good. Start being cognizant of the foods that actually make you feel sluggish. So what I had to look at was, were there foods that made me feel more tired? Were there things that I was eating that made me feel more bloated and heavy? I took that out and I started fueling with the things that energized me, such as leafy greens, avocado, like the good fats. I started incorporating more protein, which I said in the first video was very important for muscle growth. So go back and watch that. But if you start looking at how you're fueling yourself, that is going to be a game changer. So not just saying, I need to take everything out, no carbs, no this, no that. God designed food to sustain you, not shame you. I don't want food to be something you look at that makes you feel negative, that makes you feel scared, that makes you feel worried. I want you to look at food as something that's going to fuel you, that's going to energize you, that's going to give you all the, strength you need. Like, I want food to excite you, but not in a overindulgent, gluttonous type of way. So just be very cognizant of doing that. But when I started to eat very strategically and plan it around my workouts, eating before, eating after, eating, the right snacks, like I said in the first video, snacking can be good, but it can also be a harmful thing if you're doing it improperly. That's when I saw progress. That's when I started to see my abs get more toned. That's when my arms started to shape out. That's when I started to see my body fat percentage drop, was when food became fuel. Food did not become something that I was scared of. So start eating like an athlete instead of just dieting. If you want to see true definition and strength, then definitely change how you look at your food, and that's gonna be a game changer for you. The next mistake you might be making is you're too outcome focused and less process driven. So I am such a outcome girly, okay? As an athlete, we trained for Olympic Games, we trained for World Championships. I had Europeans, I had a lot of championships that I was focused on. The goal has always been, what's the end goal? How do we get there? But I think something that hindered me along that process was being so focused on that goal that I didn't look at the little things that I wasn't doing day to day. And so when I stopped saying everything has to be focused on this thing and started saying, what can I do today to improve? That is when I started seeing more progress. So can you, instead of thinking about, okay, well, I need to be 15 pounds less. It's good to have an outcome goal. Don't get me wrong. However, instead of looking at that all the time, look at the small goals that you have along the way to keep you going. So in that, if you know that your outcome is to lose 15 pounds, what are the little things you can be doing each and every day, and focus on that. When we become so outcome focused, we get discouraged because we don't see the outcome as fast as we want. I know for me, when I had high goals in the sport world, I knew that if I didn't have a track meet that related to what I wanted to do at a big championship meet, I was frustrated because I'm just like,
I need to be doing this in order to get there.
But everything is a process, and everything is a little piece of the puzzle getting you to the overall outcome. So when you start looking at it like that and saying, okay, although I might not have the six pack today, I started incorporating core work, which is going to ultimately get me there. And I need to do that for 4, 6, 8 weeks to get me there in the 16 weeks I gave myself. So just become more process driven. It makes it so much more enjoyable. And honestly, it makes the goal come a lot faster when you're not just thinking about the outcome. When you're just focused on enjoying the process, having a good time, allowing the process to become your life, that is when progress happens, not when the outcome is literally your main focus every single day. So start looking at your smaller goals and your smaller wins along the way. That'll keep you going, it'll keep you encouraged, and it will keep you on track to reach your goals. The next mistake that you might be making is you don't have a clear why. I think sometimes we, have outcome goals. Like I said earlier, we might have a goal of things we want to accomplish, but our why behind that goal is not quite clear. So for me, what helped me when I was training for an Olympics or training for something really, really big, it wasn't just like the medal or the time or whatever I wanted to do that day. It was, how will this make me feel? How will my life change? How will I be able to impact others if I accomplish this? How can I glorify the Lord as a Christian and somebody who believes in God? How can I use my gifts to glorify Him in order to, accomplish this thing? And so when I had a bigger why that wasn't just focused on myself, that is when I started seeing progress. When we just focus on the outcome and what we want, sometimes it may get us there. More times than not, when our goals are just very self-absorbed, more so for aesthetics or whatever it is, that makes it harder to achieve. There are gonna be days where you're not gonna have the motivation and you're not gonna want to do anything towards that goal goal. And just having a very surface level reason behind it is going to be enough to make you give up and not want to do it that day. Versus having something that's a bigger why, a bigger purpose, a bigger drive will keep you going on those days you don't want to go. Just remember that if you don't have a clear vision as to why do you want what you want, that's going to help sustain you. And it's not going to only do that, but it's going to help you keep off the weight and keep on the muscle for a very long time. Okay? Because let's say your goal is just to, look good and hit those physical attributes that you want. After you reach that, if you haven't created a reason behind keeping it, you're going to go back right to where you were. So I'm trying to help you guys keep this sustainably so that you have this for life. This is something that you can continue to upkeep as time goes on, as motivation lacks. Like, this becomes a lifestyle that you don't even have to think about. Just remember your why, remember what you're doing it for, and continue to persist with that why. And that's going to help you get there a lot faster. So the last mistake you might be making towards reaching your goals is you're trying to do it without structure or accountability. So I harp on this a lot in my videos, but it's so important. If you are somebody who's really trying to make a change, really trying to make something happen, having structure and having something hold you accountable will be a game changer, okay? When I started incorporating more help in my life, that is when I could truly reach my goals. I'll give you an example. The year of 2020, a lot of us couldn't do a lot of things because of what was going on in the world, right? And so that was a year that our structure was a little bit lax. So we didn't really have, I had a little bit of structure when it came to workouts, but I didn't have competition structure. I didn't have gym structure. I didn't have a lot of structure. And honestly, I noticed that in my performance because my times weren't as good. I wasn't as motivated or driven. My body fat percentage went up a little bit. I noticed it was harder to reach my goals because I didn't have that structure. So having plans, having a system that's going to help you stick to your goals long-term is going to be crucial, as well as having accountability. So whether it's somebody like a coach or somebody encouraging you along the way to get you there is going to be helpful. So I had to get nutritionists. I had to get people along my journey to really help me hone in on those skills in that journey. For you, this can look like being your spouse, your friend, your mom, somebody involved just to know what your goals are, to hold you accountable, to say, hey, check in on me, please. Ask me if I've done this today. Or, even if you just involve your family members when you're out to eat, they'll check on you. They'll say, hey, I thought you were trying to not eat that type of food, or I thought you were trying to do this. They'll keep you in check real quick. So you don't need more information. You just need accountability and structure, and that's going to help you out a lot. And that's exactly why I coach women the way I do, with simple structures and faith-centered plans that can help you continuously reach your goals on a high level. So if that's something you want, head to the link in my description and we can get you ready to enter into my program that I have coming out soon to help you reach your goals. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully it gave you some insight into mistakes you might be making that could be hindering you from accomplishing your goals. Make sure to go back to the first video if you haven't seen it yet, and subscribe for more content. Comment down below one thing you really want to work on this year, and I will be your personal cheerleader, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye for now.